Hello everybody, my name's Magnus Frampton. I'm from the University of Fechter. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you're thinking of applying for some money so that you can study abroad as part of one of our blended intensive programs. A really pleasant part of my job is accompanying students to our partner universities, and I'm thoroughly enjoying having these weeks together abroad with students learning with our other European friends. This video is to give you tips for your application so that you can maximize your chances of being successful. So I'm going to have a number of different parts. First of all, I'm going to talk about strong applications in general. Then I'll say a few words about what these blended intensive programs are. They're new, not everybody knows them well. Then I'll talk about the importance of formalities as part of the applications process. Then I'll give you some tips as to what makes a good BIP student from my perspective as a lecturer. Then I'll say a few words about CVs, and finally your statements or your letters of motivation. So let's jump straight into our first topic, applying strong. I really should make a contrast here. Many of you guys are in your late teens or early 20s. Lots of my students are something like 19, 20, 21. And BIPs are designed for people to go on at the beginning of their studies. So maybe it's worth me really stressing how different this is from school. When you apply for stuff as a school child, things are quite easy for you. You want to do a practice placement, you apply, and companies in your area tend to be open to having you. In other words, we kind of have a duty to help school children. But now you're a young adult, you're at university, you're applying for, in this case, a scholarship, but in other cases, things like jobs. Please beware. There's competition out there. It really is well worth making your application as strong as possible. And that's exactly what this video is about. I'm thinking of a scholarship here, but exactly the same rules apply for job applications or practice placement applications as an adult. So hold on to the ideas and see this task as being a kind of practice for future applications in other areas. So you're competing with others. Take all of these applications seriously. Do them as carefully as you can. Learn about the art of making applications, whether it's for a job, a university place, or a scholarship like this one. What are BIPs? Blended intensive programs. That's 3 words already. They're blended because they have an online part. They're intensive. Typically, they have a mobility phase of about a week or 2 weeks. So this really is compact learning. They're blocked sessions in your calendar. You'll be learning together with the other students day in, day out, and you'll be dreaming in English about the subject of the BIP, I can promise you. They're programs, they're highly structured programs. They tend to involve non-classroom elements. So when I'm out and about with my social work blended intensive program students, we're visiting agencies or we're doing stuff in town. They involve social and cultural activities. Often a formal party event belongs to the blended intensive program. And your learning informally in these social situations is just as important as your learning in the classroom itself. Quite a fascinating contrast with a regular university course, isn't it? It's about getting to know other European students. It's about making new friends. And that's one reason why I personally love these blended intensive programs. I like to see you making friendships with other Europeans. Typically, they represent modules which you can complete and get ECTS credits for. So many of the ones in Fechter work so that you get the 6 credit points at the end when you've submitted your work. These blended intensive programs are completely new. The first ones were a year ago in spring 2022. Because of COVID, we didn't have any earlier. And this way of financing them is a new European Union initiative. Formalities. It goes without saying, if you want to make a successful application, do keep an eye on the formal aspects of the application. So you'll be looking at this video because your attention was caught by a call for applications. So in German, an Ausschreibung, inviting you to make your applications. And typically you get like a 2 or 3 page PDF. Typically they tend to be quite long, filled with some bureaucratic jargon. That call for applications will include information about the blended intensive program. Read that bit carefully. Read it carefully a couple of times. You really must know what you're applying for. Note the deadline of the application. Typically it's quite short. Typically we recruit in something of a hurried nature. That's often how these things are. Note what is needed from you. What do you need to send in? What do you need to email for your application to be processed? Look at this carefully. If it says that your document should be sent as 1 PDF, don't send your documents as 3 PDFs. So be very, very careful to note what's needed from you. Note the required language of documents. Typically, it's in English. Think about the length of your documents. Sometimes I get very, very short applications where the applicant hasn't written much. This is bad. You know, if you want the European Union to give you a few €100 of cash to buy plane tickets and travel to a distant place, really you need to think about your application first. And I wouldn't be satisfied getting a short statement of motivation or a very short and sketchy CV. Try and make your documents full. So think about the length of time needed to prepare them well. This is not the kind of thing that you can whack out in half an hour. Okay, ideally you should be spending some time really making sure your application is as strong as possible, even if you're having a busy week. What makes a good BIP student? Here's a question to ask yourself, because when I'm selecting students, and sometimes I'm involved in the selection process, when I'm selecting students, that's one of my questions. I really want the best students to travel with me. So it's going to be someone who can represent their whole home university well. Our friends abroad are going to be seeing Fechter in you. You're representing Fechter. So that's a really important point to hold on to. We're trying to choose people that will really show our university in a positive light. Ideally, you should be energetic, but relax. You don't have to be extroverted. You can also be an energetic, introverted person as well. The important thing is that we're really seeing your interest. You're going to be interested in the topic and willing to talk about it, keen to think about it. You should be interested in learning in a European context. These really are wonderful European projects. So there should be some part of your identity which is, you know, a keen European or somebody open to European ideas. We're looking for reliable people. I love it when students attend all of the sessions. Typically in a BIP, people really are there throughout the week. Nobody misses anything. You know, if you can answer emails quickly, respond to invitations to introduce yourself or send in information about yourself, that's obviously wonderful. So we like people that are on the ball. Ideally, you should motivate others. You know, there's often an energy within the week where everybody is motivating each other. That's often how these fun exchanges work. And you should be interested not only in the subject of the BIP, not only in the subject of the course, but also in the culture and the cultural activities offered by the host country. So that's a really important point to hold on to. So that's what we're looking for in you. You should be somehow matching these criteria. So how are you going to do it? How are you going to prove that you match these criteria? Basically in 2 ways. You're going to be sending us typically a CV, and you're going to be sending us typically a statement of motivation. Let's think about CVs first. CVs, in German, of course, you call it a Lebenslauf, but please note, an Anglo-Saxon CV is more than a Lebenslauf. You will have written a Lebenslauf at school as a school child. You've done that as a school pupil to apply for things. But the Anglo-Saxon CV tends to have a bit more detail. It tends to have a lot more work in it than a German one. Please note that the CV is highly regarded as a selection tool in Anglo-Saxon cultures. When Brits or Americans look at your CV, they're trying to get a feeling of who you are. And that's a bit less so, particularly for people of your age in Germany. So Anglo-Saxons make these CVs full. Okay, in Germany, I often see sketchy, half-filled, one-page CVs. You know, in the English-speaking countries, they tend to be much more compact, really full of information. So really full pages with lots of information about you and what you've done. List experiences proving that you are a motivated and energetic person. So experiences showing your energy, your commitment to doing things. Your CV should show that you have broad interests. You know, there's a lot in your life. You have quite literally a full life. And the CV should show that you're active in your community. And this is also a nice tip for the future. Sometimes as a young person, I did things to make my CV look better. So maybe I volunteered. When I was your age, I helped out with homeless people. And that was a way of me showing my future employers who I was, what an energetic and active person I am. Well, it may be too late to do that for this upcoming BIP application, but that's a really nice idea to hold on to for the future. Do things now for your CV. Give details for all relevant work experience, including voluntary placements. And again, I can recommend the wonderful literature on CVs, including this book in particular. So be inspired by ideas from the professionals there. Create a full and an exciting CV for us to look at. Typically, that may be part of your application CV, but the statement of motivation is obviously especially important. And let me close this presentation by talking a little bit about this statement of motivation. Well, basically, this is very much like a job application cover letter, isn't it? It's the same principle here. You want something from us, you have to sell yourself to us. So see that as being your task, selling yourself, a bit like getting that top job. So this statement, this letter is going to have an introduction. Why? Why are you applying? So that's the first important point. Why are you actually making this application? Ideally, it should start with a good, solid main reason. Please note, there are bad reasons for applying. You know, if the BIP is in Finland and you always wanted to go to Finland, that's not enough. You know, you could be a tourist there. Why do you want to attend a course in Finland? So make sure that your main reason, your opening reason, really is a good one. You should be showing your interest in the topic or topics. Some of these blended intensive programs really are quite broad. So again, give details here, give examples. This BIP topic should ideally overlap with other things you are doing. Relax, it doesn't have to be from your subject area, but in some sense it should overlap with other parts of your life. Projects as a student in your studies, or practice placements or volunteering. So in some sense you should bring this BIP in connection with your own life and your studies, if at all possible. When you're putting this together, group similar ideas together in paragraphs. So I love the art of writing very, very carefully, structure your ideas together, bring similar ideas together in paragraphs so that when I read your letter, there really is a structure to it. I see, okay, she's written this idea first, then it continues with this second point, then it concludes with this third point. So, you know, a really nice letter may have 3 central paragraphs. Bridge from each point to the next carefully. It's lovely for me if your letter is nice to read, if it's logical to read, if I enjoy understanding your thoughts. And it goes without saying, your concluding paragraph, you know, it's nice if that also has a punch in it. You know, save one good argument, save one good idea for the end. When you've finished putting your statement of motivation together, do spend some time looking at it and checking it. Get feedback from a friend. It's a nice thing to do. Get a friend to give you feedback on your application. I really want your application to be as strong as possible. I want to choose you to attend one of these wonderful programs abroad. It goes without saying, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you will have found out about information sessions about the program. You know, attend these, make sure you speak to the lecturers involved in the BIP and get as much information about it as you can to make your application as strong as possible. Well, that's all I have to say in terms of giving you tips. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I thoroughly look forward to receiving your applications. let's hope your application is successful. Good luck for this project. Cheerio for now. Thank you. Bye.